Alright guys, welcome back to Wealth and Travel on a Dime. So today we're going to do the illustrious video, Can You Retire on YieldMax? Now it's important right off the bat to know that I'm going to need a cup of coffee to get through this one because there's so much bad information out there on YieldMax and there is some good points that get brought up from time to time but not as often. So I'm going to talk about the use cases. I'm not going to go down all the roads like taxes or other things like that. And I also don't want to do the uneducated YieldMax bro information you see on YouTube. Go to somebody who, if you want to know if they have absolutely no actual facts about YieldMax, if their video starts out that I'm a CPA or I'm a financial advisor, and the first thing they do is say, we're going to compare the longest running fund, Tesla, you automatically know they have no clue what they're talking about. All right, the reason for that is any covered call, anybody who sells calls, sells puts, sells options on Tesla or any combination of any of these will tell you that that is a ping pong ball. At times it's feast or famine when you're selling. There's no way that in a European style settled call option like YieldMax that you're always going to win on Tesla. In fact, you're probably going to lose more often because the difference between a regular option like you and me would sell and how they do it in YieldMax is they're European settled, which means at the end of the week, if you lose your trade, you don't get assigned shares. You hand over that cash, which comes out of your premium if you're investing with them. So I don't want to use the very worst, I won't say worst performing, but the one that has the most volatility and has an erratic share price as what YieldMax is as an entity. So real quickly, before we even start, YieldMax basically has a suite of ETFs. In these ETFs, they sell covered calls and do other different strategies in order to produce yield. To produce income is their only job, all right? They're not going, how's our share price? How's our this? How's our that? That's not their first priority. Their first priority is to hand you cash, okay? Most of their ETFs are based on single stock tickers. Now, they have a rotational lineup, which means they actually pay 13 times a year instead of once a month, all right? So you will not have the first week of every month be one certain thing paying, all right? They've got them staggered, and then when people do their math, they always do it wrong because you actually get paid 13 times. There's 52 weeks. When you figure out by 4 different pay sections, you get paid 13 times. All right, before we go any farther, we do own YieldMax in our portfolio. I will explain on the very last one how we use it, okay? How we use YieldMax in our portfolio will be the last one. So let's get right into it. So the first way I see people using YieldMax, and this is probably the least I'm excited about, is that they will invest in YieldMax and then just try and live off the dividend. All right. They get to a certain amount. Some people will say go double of what you actually need and then just try and live off of it. Now, these inherently have NAV erosion and they get capped on the upside. All right. We are trying to get yield here. So you're not going to end up having massive growth in most of these. Now, the trick to YieldMax, and it's really simple to understand, is you need to look ones with strong underlying and a good track record. Now, they haven't been out that long, so I know that's hard to do. But it's pretty simple to go look at funds like NVIDIA, YMAG, go look at Misty, Platy, which is PLTY, which is Palantir's version. Go look at these ones that have share price that's either increasing or stayed steady or at least holding up enough. Go look at something like Alti. You don't want to be an Alti. I don't care what anyone tells you. That is not a good fund. All right. So picking good quality underlines and then watching the track records and paying attention to that can be helpful. Now, I will say that I'm in all those funds as well as except Alti. I'm not in Alti. And I am in Coney as well. And that's one of my losers. So that's another thing. Diversification is good. But I want to say, being too diversified in YMAX is not good. Like YMAX, the fund itself, YMAX, is diversification of most of their funds, all right? But it has shown that it performs very poorly share price-wise because you're getting all the bad in with the good. You're far better to pick, say, 5 or 6 funds, and your odds are in your favor. Now, with that said, getting this amount in a depreciating asset you're not going to get this 2 years from now, 4 years from now. You're not going to get that same amount. It's just not going to happen, generally speaking. First of all, their distributions are never one amount. It's how much they make, or they're based on their IV or whatever they feel like paying. I mean, that's the reality of it. So you can't count on any certain dollar amount. So if you buy $5,000 worth, and then over here your share price has come down 25%, you're not going to get $5,000 worth of distributions. How much that falls is unknown. But before anyone starts crying about NAV erosion, every one of you at some point in your life has done this. What do I mean by that? Your cell phone. Your cell phone's not good forever. It doesn't keep its market value forever, but you make money off of it over a period of time. All right? Your car. If you have a car payment or you buy a car, over time the value drops, but you're making money off of it in the meantime. Every business that owns a truck for trucking or something else, same thing. Every business that owns machines, they break down over time. They need money put back in or they need replaced. It is a depreciating asset, and so many things in our world is becoming more of a depreciating asset, and it's all about how you use them. But if you think about it, if you buy a truck and you make money with it, down the road, you're not going to make as much money with it. It's going to be broke down more often, or it's going to have to be gotten rid of because it doesn't really have any real value yet. So buying it and just holding it, not a real good idea. Honestly, I would say I don't care what funds you buy, you're going to have in a few years half as much you're getting in distributions every month compared to what you started with. You're going down a hill, all right? Now, the second way these can be used, and I think this is the simple solution to the buy and hold strategy, is you have where you buy the asset. You want to have more than what you need right off the bat. But then you reinvest whatever it falls over a period of time. Now, sometimes markets can correct. So I don't say that you need to fix that. But if your share price over a year, say, goes down 25%, you're going to want to reinvest that 25%. You will get more shares, and then you will end up getting your distribution pretty close to what you had before. So you can continually put a piece back. Now, some people will be like, why would I want to put the money back if I want to live off of it? Where this works is a lot of these funds are paying more than 50%. So you're still getting 25% of it that you get to keep. All right. So if it makes 50% in a year and you're putting 25% back, you're getting 25% and pretty much holding up your NAV there. You're holding up your share price, which means based on what the percentage is that it pays, say 50% a year, you're going to continue to get that same amount that you originally put in. So putting back a percentage, I can't tell you exactly what it is because I don't know what fund you're in. I don't know how it's going to move over time. All right. But reinvesting at least a share of the dividend could go ahead and give you the ability to hold up your NAV, prop it up, let's say, and that will give you the money you need ongoing. All right. So just a simple dividend reinvestment of a share of it based upon however much it goes down. Now, we're going to go to the third one. And this one I think is less talked about, but I've run the numbers on it, and in some situations it makes sense. If you have, say, $5,000 and you work a job that is very tight, you have no extra money, there's nothing you can do extra to make money, you got to be home every night with your kids, you're a single parent, putting $5,000 into some of the higher yielding quality YieldMax funds and then taking the entire distribution and putting it into safer funds over the long term to help you get by in the future, the numbers actually work out depending upon what funds you did. I did a track record with it with Misty, MSTY, putting it all into QQQI over the long term since inceptions. And numbers came out pretty nice. Now, it's not as tax efficient to do that, but if you're a single parent on a low income, the taxes aren't going to touch you. You probably aren't going to have to pay them by the time you're all said and done with child tax credit, etc. So there is different circumstances this could work and not work. Some may be very non-tax efficient and it may be terrible. But as I said, I really don't want to go into taxes. I'm just saying that it is an option to take your income from here, put it over here, building this up because you don't have money to put in it. And as this goes down the hill, you're just contributing less, but it doesn't matter because this is, income snowballing and growing over here. It's just another way to do it. I don't know that it's the most efficient way, but it does work in some cases. Now, the last one, and this is what we do, all right? And this is very outside the box of thinking here, all right? Because there's two parts to ours. I'm going to talk about the first part, and that's the actual strategy for the YieldMax, but then increasing your yield based upon that, okay? So the fourth one would basically be you take it and use it to make an income by skewing your numbers. So let's say you build a portfolio and it yielded 14%. You've got some SCHD, you've got some FEPI, you've got just all kinds of different income type funds. All right, and you want your yield higher. So just as some random numbers, let's say you have a 20% yield over all this and you want a 30% yield. All right, buying shares of some higher yielding YieldMax funds that pay 50, 70% and building up a position in that until the fact that the average comes that you're making more than what you need. The percentage of your portfolio of yield gets higher. So if it's 20%, it goes to 30%. If it's 30%, you can push it up to 40%. That being just a percentage and you overbuild that way over time, you're still going to get above that 30%. So it's a way of changing the yield while you have the bulk of your portfolio in safe assets paying good. This just helps you offset that. All right. That's the strategy basically we use our YieldMax for. We have, basically 2/3 of our money is in safer, I won't say safe, safer income assets. And then we have the YieldMax over here that's skewing the yield. Now, you can do a dividend reinvestment as well to prop this side up if you're worried about it. What we do is keep buying any reinvestments in the safer funds. We're going to let these just depreciate to zero. We're not worried. It won't actually go to zero because they'll be paying for a long time, but the yield will go down. So basically, you're just using it to skew your numbers. It's not even half, it's not even a quarter of your actual portfolio. Maybe a third if you wanted to be aggressive, but it's got a date line. Like for us, this whole portfolio I'm talking about here only has to last 8 years. We have retirement portfolios we can tap after that. And then you'll have Social Security after that if it's still around. So there's so many different things we have sitting ahead. This portfolio doesn't have to last that long. So skewing that yield just gives us more money now. And we're okay with that. But I told you there was a second part to our portfolio. And the second part is very outside the box thinking. Because if you've got a portfolio and it has a value, and let's just for round numbers say that value is $100,000. You can go and use margin against that, only use half. All right, that way you've got 50%. Your portfolio would have to fall more than 50% to get you in trouble. But you use half of that, so on the $100,000 portfolio, you'd use a $50,000 chunk. And you'd use margin to sell options. Not sell options on what's in your portfolio. Sell options, as in going out and selling puts, doing the wheel strategy, creating income while you already have income here. Now what this allows us to do is, if a trade goes bad, we got income coming in. It's okay. We also have the premium we made off the options. But if trades go good, then basically we're using money for free because we love to sell puts. If we ever get assigned, then we sell calls to wheel out of them and we start it over. This margin account only gets charged if you're assigned. So if I just sell puts for 10 weeks and never get assigned, I never pay a dime of margin. All right, with margin rates lower than what you can get on a house mortgage now at Robinhood, I think mine's about 4.5 to 5%. It just makes sense to juice the yield some. Now, what does that do on the overall portfolio? Well, on average, it adds about a 10 to 20% yield to our overall portfolio yield. All right, so with our overall portfolio right now, we are yielding somewhere around 40 or 50%. So we're doing more like 60, maybe even pushing 65, 70 with our option premium added in. So on one money, we're making 60, 65, 70% a year. All right, and our calls and puts are very conservative. When I'm wheeling out on calls, it's at the money, just trying to get out of position. When I'm in puts, I'm going out of the money. You're going to see me at 85, 90% almost always, especially now in this more down market. Now, that's the last thing we need to talk about is why is YieldMax useful? Well, I just explained all the ways you can use it, and there's many more. But the market just dropped and it taught all of us something. It taught us that index funds are probably the safest and best bet, and they fall the least. But if you're in a point where you're in retirement and you have to sell right at that bottom because you got to pay your bills, you're hurting your portfolio bad. Whereas we sit back and collect our income. There's going to be times when the market rips that we're not going to make as much as people that are just in straight index funds. And that's fully to be accepted. That's why we take advantage of the volatility and sell options ourselves, because that's when the highest premium is paid, is when the market is most volatile, which is during a crash or a drop. So we are offsetting that. And yes, 60% is great. Index funds did 25% the last 2 years. So don't sleep on those. Don't think for a moment I'm saying those are bad. I'm just saying it's a different strategy. And YieldMax is a very complex tool that has its place. Generally, it's used wrong. I'll just be honest with you. Most people use it wrong. They lean on it. They think it's going to pay their bills, and they tell you all this stuff. And especially if they're in it on margin, not good. Now, I want to be clear, though. Everybody has different investing goals and strategies. If you do this or you've done this and it didn't work out, I am not here judging you. I'm just going to tell you right now, I believe in you, and the best way to learn a valuable lesson and actually remember it and change your patterns for the future is to get hammered in a bad trade or have something bad happen to you, because your mind instantly learns from that. And there is no dollar amount that can be put on that knowledge, because you'll be a better trader the next time around. You'll make more money the next time around. You'll be more cautious and be able to walk around all the bad stuff while everybody else falls in the holes. Should you invest in YieldMax? Unless you have a certain strategy, I would not. I have seen some people say, I'm 59 and a half. I'm going to use this to get me through till Social Security kicks in. I've got one X amount. I'm going to drop it in. And I understand that the yield is going to go down, but I only need it for 4 years. And I'd say, okay, that makes sense, I guess. Because they're going to still get residual money after they take their 62 Social Security. So like I said, there's use cases, but you should really have a plan. And personally, I don't think it should be more than a third of your portfolio. Some people may say differently, and that's fine. But we have enough knowledge of it now to see how it moves, see how the funds perform, see how they're handling the calls and the puts. Retire on Dividends does an excellent job of laying out their trades almost every single day. He's on there with the numbers right in front of your face, and you can see what they're doing. So I would suggest taking some time, doing your own research, and seeing if they fit your portfolio needs the way we did. I have found that choosing the right ones, which you'll figure out real quick which ones are the right ones, can be helpful. But just don't try and live 100% or retire 100% off YieldMax. And with that said, if you haven't already, and I don't know why you wouldn't have, go down, hit subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.